Good morning, everyone. Let us finish the chapter number 3, Human Development from India, People and Economy. We have discussed about these topics like what is human development, indicators of social empowerment, economic attainments, development related beliefs, measurement, what are the parameters, right? What is human development index, human development in India, indicators of economic attainments, GDP, indicators of healthy life, Swachh Bharat mission, and then we have also discussed about in my last video, we have discussed about indicators of social empowerment and literacy. Okay, let us discuss today population, environment, and development. Right. So, what about the population, environment, and development? There is a close relationship between population, environment, and development. Okay. The relationship is dynamic, and while the growth of a society depends on its environment, its growth itself leaves its mark on the environment too, isn't it? Generally, it is observed that with the process of civilization, environment tends to deteriorate. With the development, if development is taking place, you can see that there is a deterioration in the quality of atmosphere or due to pollution. Okay, due to pollution. So this is what that the development of agriculture industries are two greatest achievements of man, but both of these activities of mankind have affected the environment adversely, right? Development and agriculture, or wherever you can see development is taking place, you can see that that is affected or that affects what the environment, right? So this relationship between population, development and environment can be understood in terms of basic characteristics of different stages of evolution of modern civilization. Okay, so let me tell you one by one. For example, hunting and gathering a stage. Number one is hunting and gathering stage. What had happened? There was far less human population during this phase of human history. Okay, so in this phase, man met his needs of food and clothing from his immediate environment. Nature dominated man, so he ate flesh of animals and roots and fruits and leaves of plants. But in this stage, man, like any other animal, was a part of environment in which he lived. Man did not dominate the nature, but it was nature which dominated the man. So there was a little bit, there was a very less or little impact on environment. Or you can say that the impact on environment was almost negligible, isn't it? Then comes the agricultural stage. What had happened? In fact, you can see that in this age, man took to agriculture, domestication of animals, and engaged in obtaining agricultural land by clearing forests. Unlike his nomadic Unlike his nomadic lifestyle in the earlier stage, he started living a settled life. Due to agriculture, man started a settled life. So, thus, human impact started becoming regular and continuous in the same location, and environment was not getting time to recover from the effect of his excessive felling of trees or hunting of animals in the same area, right? And he began to grow crops according to his own preferences and needs. And it was his wish to grow the different types of crops. Started when man started settle life, and the choice was in his hand. Then what happened? He learned to make use of natural materials to satisfy his needs. Once the natural material received the value, became a resource, and environmental deterioration set in, because processing of the natural elements that began. And so that was the step, that was the beginning of environmental deterioration. So this deterioration and degradation increased at an accelerated pace with the progress of man. And with this, the environmental deterioration took many forms like extinction on account of killing of wild animals, soil erosion, deforestation, pollution, isn't it? So, right. So, you can see here that development has brought in significant improvement in the quality of life in more than one way, but increasing regional disparities, social inequalities, discriminations, displacement of people, abuse of human rights, and undermining human values and environmental degradation that have also increased, isn't it? Then comes the industrial age. With the invention of machines beginning in the 17th century, man's working capacity and his power to interfere with the nature increased severely, isn't it? And with the development of transport, man became capable of transporting the resources from where? From his environment, from one place to another, in a big way. And with this technology, man now exercised what control over nature. Now man has started dominating the nature. And some examples of interference with the nature are changing the course of rivers through digging canals or damming, through construction of dams. Ordinarily, this may sound very simple, but when we consider this interference, you can see that in relation to drainage basins, its impact is enormous. Okay, people's participation and the security were the major issues in the human development report. It also emphasized the progressive democratization and increasing empowerment of people as minimum conditions for human development. Right. So you can see here that I mean there is in fact a close relationship between population, environment, and development. But at the other extreme of this approach lies the views expressed by new Malthusians, environmentalists, and radical ecologists. Right? They believe that for a happy and peaceful social life, proper balance between population and resources is necessary condition. There should be, or there must be, a cordial relation that should develop between population, environment, and development, or between population and resources. Right. According to these thinkers, the gap between the resources and population has widened after 18th century. There have been marginal expansion in the resources, right? Resources everywhere are unevenly distributed. Rich countries and people have access to other or to different resources, right? Resource baskets, while the poor find the resource shrinking. Why is it so? Because the technology, due to the development of technology, the rich countries started grabbing. The rich countries started, taking over the different types of resources available in the world, in different parts of the world. So man began to use natural resources like minerals, energy resources, and other forest resources on a very large scale. But the result was, what was the result? The result was decrease and decadence of many natural resources, isn't it? And some areas, and some were exhausted after use at many places, exhausted, right? And then this over exploitation of resources also led to deterioration of environment, right? And then man now began not only the consumer of environment but also its destroyer. Okay, man of course achieved a lot of things, and man in the early periods, man was dominated by nature, and with the due course of time, right, what had happened, the man started with the development of technology, man started dominating the nature, then he and then the man now not only become the consumer of environment but also its destroyer, and he was no longer the nature's slave and its companion but its enemy. the present climatic change. Everywhere you can see that, you can see the climatic change and the global, there is a global climatic change and rise in pollution, right? Uh, Glaciers are melting, then ozone layer, depletion of ozone. What about these are the impact of, these are the effects of the rising pollution and the man, the development of technology. Man is responsible for creating such kind of problems in the world, isn't it? So there is no fixed rule or principle for causing damage or destruction of environment which can be applied in other situations. Okay, so man influences his environment in many ways. Some instances are use of natural resources during their during their use, spewing smoke and waste through the environment, and now throw away the leftovers to degrade the environment. Further, in the process, pollution made. In this process, what happened? That the pollution made its appearance in a big way, right? And so it has since then been rising at a very fast pace. And now you can see that the pollution is increasing everywhere and every now and then you can see that there is a rise in the pollution level. Therefore, the prime task before any development activity is to maintain parity between population and resources, or or just to control. No matter development should take place. Of course, the development has to take place, but development should take place in such a way that should not degrade the quality of environment. Okay, that should not increase in the development that has to take place, but increase in pollution should not take place, right? Well, we have discussed about the pollution, in fact, population, environment, and development. How population, how the man, how human beings are degrading the quality of environment, isn't it? At last, I would like to tell you something about Gandhiji's view. Small is, remember, small is beautiful. That is being published by Schumacher in 1973 and re-quote Gandhiji's views. Right? Schumacher considered man a small creation of nature and therefore very beautiful. For him, people mattered, and man was the agent of sustainability of Earth's resources. People mattered, and man was the agent of sustainability of Earth's resources. This definition of sustainability was adopted by whom you know? Brundtland Commission in its report titled Our Common Future, in which year, in 1987. The definition was finally accepted and included in Agenda 21. Agenda 21. What was the objective? What was the objective of Agenda 21? To control the rising pollution, okay, to control and to combat with the environmental degradation and diseases that's rising in the world. And so Agenda 21, a first environmental conference of United Nations held. It was held where? At Rio de Janeiro in 1992, called the Earth Summit. Okay, so far we have discussed about the impact of rising pollution on environment and close relationship between population, environment, and development. Okay, that's all for today. Good day.